Well, as we continue to watch the drama unfold with President Trump and the media, who he despises so much, I wonder at what point we're going to come up with an actual official, this is the only version that will be allowed to be reported. I mean, we already talked about on this podcast what happened back in December as part of the National Defense Authorization Act. There is actually a provision that will set up an arm of government, an actual organ of government that's going to be overseeing the media to, quote, counter propaganda. In other words, if they don't like this version of the story that's being put out, they will have the power to go in there and make it change. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it is scary to me. And seeing what's happening right now with the White House saying that, no, we're not going to send information over to CNN because we think they're fake news. Well, part of me, of course, rejoices in that after all the years of seeing CNN intentionally distort stories for their own particular political agenda. But part of it just absolutely bothers me to no end, to think that a journalist, no matter whether you agree or disagree, you know what, even especially if you disagree with them, to deny access to that journalist to a story, to deny access to a politician, to make them answer for the things that they've done or the things that they said that they're going to do, to deny access to information to the people at large because there are certain journalists that you don't like that you're not going to let in. Those are all the actions of a dictator, Mr. Trump. And I got to tell you, it is really disturbing to me that there are so many people that I probably would have agreed with them 10 years ago on a lot of political issues. In terms of where I was 10 years ago and where they are now, I'm like, yeah, I think my views are very close to where a lot of people are now that are on that side of the political spectrum. I'm really no closer to the other side of the spectrum either. I actually have kind of taken myself off the spectrum and say, you know what, I refuse to be categorized. But as I look at what is going on right now, to see people who would have said, I support the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, yeah, say, no, they shouldn't be allowed to speak. Do you see the disconnect that's going on in your head? How should we live? How should we as people live? We should always be about the idea of treating others the way that we want to be treated, right? Do we want someone to step in and say, no, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to say that? There are going to be penalties for the things that you said because we disagree with what you said. Do we want that for ourselves? I know I don't. I don't want that for my children. Why is it okay for President Trump to do that to CNN or to any other journalist of any spectrum? It's not. And that's just that's my take on it. I don't think it's okay. And I think that there are going to be consequences to this that have, I don't know if they're going to have political ramifications for Mr. Trump necessarily, but they're going to have ramifications in this country if we continue to go down this path. If you want to engage me on it, send me an email, steve@radiofreespeech.com, and that goes for any tip you may have, a news tip or something you'd like to hear me do a commentary on. And, of course, please support me either through Patreon or by a direct subscription at radiofreespeech.com.